This is another episode of Standup Comedy, your host and MC, celebrating 40-plus years on the fringe of show business. Stories, interviews, and comedy sets from the famous and not so famous. Here's your host and MC, Scott Edwards.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's another amazing guest for our interview today. Thanks for joining us. Boy, I'm so excited. This guy is one of the most high energy, funny, magical. That's right. He's a comic magician. Guys in the business, please welcome to our show today, amazing Johnathan. Wow. Good to have you on the show, Johnathan. You have been such a successful comic magician. Thanks for joining us today.
No problem. It's about time. You already had Kozak. You already had Mike Benny.
Well, I was working up to the best.
You just ran out, didn't you?
It's so funny you mentioned Kozak. I ran into him. He has a little magical theater show on the Big Island of Hawaii. And
right. How'd you run into him? Were you in Hawaii?
Yeah. We have a timeshare over there, and we've actually gone by and seen him a couple times. But it's just funny to hear you mention his name in this context. But hey, we've gone off track already. Ladies and gentlemen, amazing Johnathan worked for me several times in the mid 80s. He is one of the most high energy audience participation, if I didn't say that well, comic magicians out there. Johnathan, what kind of got you started? Was it the comedy, the magic? How'd you get into show business?
No, I started as a magician and was just putzing around doing magic when I was a kid, and then started doing any kind of shows I could get my hands on. And then I did the high school talent show, which ended my magic career.
Ended it?
I did 6 tricks for the talent show. Everybody was there. My mom, my schoolmates, my friends, and 6 tricks did not work. Every single one of them malfunctioned and bombed. And I actually killed a dove. I stepped on a dove. I was chasing it, and I was chasing it, and it stopped, and I ran over it and killed the dove. The levitation didn't work. The guillotine didn't work. I did a sword cabinet where the girl gets in the box and she got a leg cramp and had to get out right away and busted her way out of the box. It was just total chaos.
Wow, what an introduction to magic and in front of your high school peers.
Nobody. You know how bad it was. Nobody even mentioned it the next day. They didn't tease me about it. They didn't. That's pretty bad when they don't even tease you about it. They didn't even look me in the eye. They just ignored me. And that was the last magic show I think I ever performed.
Straight magic. Now, you ended up adding comedy. Now, you were doing magic in high school. You kind of gave it up after that amazing show. What got you back on stage? Because that's tough to overcome.
Well, I didn't get back on stage. I went out to California, and we hitchhiked to California. In San Francisco, I saw street performers working, and I needed money, and we decided to stay out there instead of going back to Detroit, where I'm from. And we started street performing. And at that time on the street, you remember A. Whitney Brown was on the street.
Sure, Fred Anderson.
Harry Anderson was on the street. It was Harry that kind of took me under his wing and showed me how to do the street. And then I added comedy to it, and then it started working for me, and I started getting good crowds on the street.
Wow, that's a fascinating start. But learning on the streets of San Francisco, there's a lot of talented jugglers and comics, and magicians, like you mentioned, Harry Anderson, who cut their teeth on the streets. I did not know that was your background. How long were you on the street?
Well, I was out there about 2 years, and then when you start getting really good on the streets, your crowds start to get really enormous, and I got arrested every weekend for obstruction because my crowds would go out into the street, and as soon as they stepped out on the street, the cops were laying for me, and they would arrest me. So I had to quit. I had to stop doing that. And at the time, there were comedy clubs were just starting out in there. Holy City Zoo in San Francisco was open, and so I moved my show indoors and started doing nightclubs. And at that time, it was Dana Carvey, Robin Williams. That was the gang I came up with doing comedy.
Wow, and you didn't actually do your show at the Holy City Zoo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
that was
we've told the podcast listeners in the past that is a famous club. It had maybe 24 seats, a really teeny stage. There was a balcony that actually held like 2 or 3 people. I mean, it was one of the smallest rooms in the history of comedy entertainment, and yet people like Robin Williams, Dana Carvey,
That's
and
where
apparently
Robin started, right?
right, and amazing Johnathan worked it. That's incredible.
Yeah, I was there. I was there the night Robin brought his contract in. He got Mork and Mindy, and he brought his contracts in and told everybody. And we were looking through his contracts, and I said $5,000 a week. That's incredible. You know, at that time that was a heaps of money. But yeah, Robin was there, and Dana Carvey, and God, everybody. But at that time, Ellen DeGeneres, and it was a great era to come up doing comedy, and also the boarding house and all those areas. There was like probably about 20 rooms within a 3-hour drive. You know.
Oh, no, San Francisco was definitely a hub and a birthplace for a lot of the entertainers our audiences heard of and enjoyed on television, and many, many more that made good careers in entertainment but never got famous. This must have been late 70s, early 80s that you were doing this.
Yes. Yep. Tony DePaul owned the room, and then he sold it off, and then people kept. And then Robin bought into it, and it went for quite a while. And it was great because, you know, coming off the streets, my energy level was twice as high because it's hard to get crowds and keep crowds on the street. So you had to really do manic material and keep their interest, so they wouldn't just walk away. But once I got into a nightclub, that energy, you know, transformed itself into a really, really high energy act that people hadn't seen before. So that helped me out quite a bit coming from the streets.
Oh, yeah. And that's some of the fondest memories I have of you on my stages was that high energy, not only some magic, very, very funny. And the other thing was you were really good at interacting with the audience, and that too probably comes from the street.
Yeah, improv does. Yeah, I mean, people would, you know, you'd end up being in a fist fight out there. People would jump you for your money, and it was pretty rough, you know. So when I went indoors, it was luxury for me. It was great.
Yeah,
real easy.
That's a big change from trying to corral a crowd out on the street to having a paid crowd sitting there that actually want to be entertained. That's a great start. Not an easy one. That's a difficult start in entertainment. How did you end up working for me at Laughs? Did you? Well,
I started going. You know, the guy who owned the Punchline at the comedy club, the John Fox, took 3 acts from San Francisco, and it was me and Will Durst and Barry Sobel, I believe, and he took us to the Improv in Los Angeles to showcase. They had a big evening at the Improv was there. They were buying acts. HBO was there. It was a huge deal, and I was one of the 3 comics picked. And that night, I kicked ass at the Improv, and I had never done any other rooms before except for the little local San Francisco rooms. But that night, I got 3 major TV shows in one night. I got Evening at the Improv. I got HBO Young Comedian Special, and I got David Letterman. Oh, at 4, Thick of the Night.
Wow.
Remember Thick of the Night? Yeah. So I got 3 immediately, and then one spun off that. The Letterman show spun off that. So one little 15-minute showcase got me 4 major TV shows, and then I started working, touring around. That enabled me to get an agency. I got Spotlight Agency, which had some of the best comics at the time, and I worked for them until they went bankrupt and stole $300,000 from me.
Oh, jeez.
Everybody else, yeah, I mean, that was a nightmare. But yeah, for years I started touring, and that's how I ended up at Laughs Unlimited, I'm sure.
Well, it's interesting because we've tried to share with the audience how important timing is, that you could be one of the funniest comics ever, and I could name several, that just never got that chance at TV or fame and fortune. And then someone like you happen to do that showcase. You were picked to go down by John Fox, who we were like competitors and peers at the time, and get that opportunity to get and connect with those shows. I mean, you had timing.
At the right time, definitely. Yeah, it was the right place at the right time. Plus, they had never seen the energy that I was expending out, so they wanted me right away. The people, after I got off stage, I was approached by HBO and everybody immediately. It was pretty heady stuff, being able to choose these shows to do, and the snowball just kept growing from there.
Well, I think, taking the story from the beginning, being a guy that had to cut his teeth and try to make a living scratching out enough money for food and stuff on the streets, to within a couple of years getting that showcase and having people throwing contracts at you. I mean, that had to be not only exciting and fun, but a bit scary too. That's a lot to have happen in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I don't remember being scared, except for doing Letterman. I don't remember ever being scared. I was pretty ready for it all. Yeah, I was confident. I knew the show was good. I knew that it was different. There wasn't anybody doing what I was doing, except for maybe Penn and Teller, but they didn't really have the laughs I had. They were clever, but they didn't have the laughs. So my whole thing was the amount of laughs I got per second were a lot. My laughs per minute were really high, and I started. The TV really helped me to keep my price in the clubs up. We were making good money. We were one of the higher tiered price wise. We were one of the higher tiered acts. It is amazing to me that the acts that I came up with aren't really doing anything anymore. More than half of them, I'd say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would say that's true. Not only is road comedy and making a living as a road comic more challenging, if you didn't get a shot at the TV shows and some of the contracts that you saw, in fact, we'll be talking about it in a little bit, you ended up with your own theater in Vegas. So you had a different path that afforded you some success. But you and I both know people, well, you mentioned Will Durst, I think one of the funniest, smartest guys out there. And he had some breaks here and there, but never got that big fame and fortune. And there's a number of people that we have worked with that were really, truly funny.
Yeah, Denny Johnson. Remember how big Denny Johnson was? That they would kill, and they just didn't quite make. They did some TV, but they didn't get a lot of TV. I was lucky in the fact that I could do 6-minute. I had a lot of 6-minute bits. I could do a comic strip live on Fox was released. I did 24 of those, and so that kind of helped me. The fact that I was able to do, to write sets just, for TV, 6-minute chunks.
Yeah,
and,
a lot of people don't realize how important for TV to being short and funny. You don't have time to, like a lot of comics need time to get the audience warmed up or get them to understanding where they're coming from. And we've already alluded to this a few times. You were so high energy. Plus, you had the experience, and you were funny, and there was some magic.
It worked everywhere. I mean, it worked for any age group. It worked for any, male or female. It really was a consistent type of humor where it wasn't political. It was just like birds would laugh at that show. It was so stupid and so ridiculous that it really touched on people's senses. And I got to travel around the world, and I figured if the comedy was going to drop out in the United States, I would be ready. And I went to Australia and became famous there. I had a TV show. I went to Germany. I went all around the world with that show. And when comedy started dying out here, I was still working in Australia and doing touring on the road in other countries,
Well, it's interesting because not only you a talented entertainer, but it sounds like you had a knack for the business side. And both of us know some really funny people that didn't have the same understanding and knack for marketing and business, but you obviously had a plan and took it to different places to as kind of a backup to keep yourself working.
Yeah, it wasn't so much. When I look back at it, it wasn't really a plan. It's just I just lucked my way all through the whole thing, Scott. I was really lucky. It was dumb luck, but I mean, it made sense to me when everybody was lowering their prices to raise mine. It was like reverse psychology, and I used that tactic to get into Vegas too. My tickets in Vegas were $100 a ticket, and the only ones who charged that much was Cirque du Soleil and all the big acts. So I figured, I wanted to be in that price group, so I I lost part of my audience, but I gained another part, the part that people would pay. And it was reverse psychology kind of a deal for me.
Well, I think that luck or planned, you had a great path. Now, we've jumped ahead a little bit. I wanted to bring you back to working in my clubs. Do you have any memories of working at Laughs?
Yeah, you know what I do? I do have memories, but who was the guy from England that used to always host?
Oh,
do you remember the
Andy?
little short guy? Yeah, Andy. What was his last name?
I would be able to think of it if I hadn't just been asked. But Andy was a opening act MC for me. That when I was not around or at a club that I wasn't managing, he would be the house MC. Did you and Andy do a lot of work together?
Yeah, we worked at the club a lot. He was always there when I was there. You made a point to book him when I was there, and we got along good. And he, we were going back to the condo and having fun. And your club was a party club, man. Well, all clubs are party clubs for me, but I mean that was one of the highlights of your tour when you did the Punchline in Atlanta and your club in Sacramento, and those were my favorite clubs.
Oh, well, thanks for saying that. We always tried to make sure it was not only respectful of the talent, but entertain them the best we could. By the way, it was Andy Roberts. And
Andy Roberts, that's it.
Yeah.
I wonder what he's doing these days.
Yeah, I think he's in jail. No, I don't know, but Andy Roberts was one of our house MCs. He was very British and did our TV show and was around for many years. I'm glad that you have good memories of working with him. And
I
also
remember going out on your boat too. You had a boat.
Yeah, we used to take the comics out. Sometimes we'd go up and hit a couple bars, or we'd take them skiing. That's funny that you remember that, because not everybody had that experience. But you were special.
Yeah, yeah. Are you still married to the same woman?
Yeah, I ended up marrying. Well, actually, I don't know which woman you mean. I was married briefly in the early days of the club, but that marriage was 18 months of marriage and 18 years of payments. And then I ended up marrying my best friend and coworker, Jill, who was, we've been together over 30 something years now. So
I remember her going on the boat with us. So I don't know which one that would have been.
Yeah, it was Jill, I'm sure. And we had a lot of fun with you and the other comics doing things, not only trying to present a great show for our audiences, but having some life and fun and entertainment away from the stage. So I'm glad that you have memories of that. It was always fun having you there, and the audiences loved your shows.
Yeah, I love that room. That was a great room, and the energy was always great. You said I did a TV show from there.
No, I had a TV show that Andy Roberts appeared on. I think you missed it. You probably were too expensive for me, but I have some great video of you using the club camera. And what you might remember was in the Firehouse Alley room, we had that really low ceiling and the audience right up on the stage. So there was always great warmth and energy from both the comic and the audience.
I remember the door to come out was like right in the back of the stage, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it worked really well. And then you would bring people up on stage and just go to town. It was so much fun. Now, you were doing road work. You mentioned Australia. How did you end up in Las Vegas?
Well, I got married to an Australian girl, and it lasted about 6 years, and then we went through a real bad divorce. And after that, I wasn't in the mood to be funny anymore. And I went through a real bad depression, and I wanted to stop doing comedy. So I quit doing comedy and just hung out in Marina Del Rey, where my house was. And then I started dabbling into getting really bad into doing coke and drugs and stuff, and I just downward spiral after the divorce. And
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, that's okay. A friend of mine got me into boxing. He taught me how to box, and then I started boxing. Every day I'd go drive down the beach to his boxing gym, and we would box. And that's probably saved my life. It got me in good shape. Stopped doing the coke and all that, and started boxing every morning. Got me in the good frame of mind, and whenever you stop doing that kind of stuff, always good stuff will happen. That's what they say. And it did. As soon as I got my shit together, I got an offer to go to Vegas for 2 weeks. And I didn't want to tour anymore. That was the whole idea of not working, is I was tired of touring. But this was a steady gig in one room. I could sit for 2 weeks, fill in for David Brenner, who was taking a summer vacation, wanted me to fill in for him. So we did killer business. We were at the Gold Nugget, which was downtown. It wasn't on the Strip. It was downtown, which didn't have acts anymore. They didn't have entertainment down there anymore. So this was a new deal coming. David Brenner opened this room and tried to make a go of it there, and we sold out every night. So they created a time slot for me at the Gold Nugget, and we were sold out almost every night for 2 years, 500 seats a night. And everybody started coming downtown again. That brought downtown back alive. And
now that had to be around 2000, 2001.
Yeah. And because I was bringing so much business into the casino, they offered me $3 million a year, a great contract to stay there. So I signed a 2-year deal and was at the Nugget for 2 years. Then the Flamingo came along and made me a better offer. And I went to the Flamingo, which is on the Strip. And then I I was there with Gladys Knight was also headlining in the room with the same room I was in. And Penn Jillette and I had this thing where we would send each other the most offensive things that we could. And nobody else was meant to see these things except for me and Penn, And he sent me a poster, and it was really racist. And I don't know why he sent it to me, but he thought I would think it was funny. And I did think it was funny at first, till Gladys Knight saw it. And then she went to the president and got me fired. So I lost the gig at the Flamingo. Actually, I deserved to. But the Riviera snapped me up after that. So everything was fine. I ended up staying here for 13 years. I worked for 13 years here.
Wow. Well, 1 year in Vegas is a career. 13 years is amazing. And I know that you were a voted best comedian in Vegas. Your show for many years was listed in the top 10 acts in Nevada. You had a lot of success in Vegas.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, the money was ridiculous. I didn't even cash any of my checks. I lived off my merchandise money and put my checks from the casino in the bank every year or every week. And I ended up saving a ton of money, which is what I needed to do, because when the recession hit after 10 years, Vegas, everybody lost their shows, or everybody went to half capacity, and it was really rough. And for the last 3 years, I just barely hung on. But then I got sick and I had to leave Vegas completely. I had heart problems. I went and had it checked out, and I was told that I had cardiomyopathy, which is a heart disease. And
I heard about that, and I'm so sorry, but the fact that you were able to build up some cash and kind of have something again, you had, without maybe planning it, you had a business mentality, and you were able to create something from all those years of work in Vegas so that you had that nest egg to get you through the tough years.
Yeah, I was taught to save money, man. My dad really instilled that in me. And I mean, I was making millions of dollars and I kept it all, it's all in the bank. So, and I got 2 houses. I got a house in Vegas, house in LA. I got 25 cars, classic cars. I went all out. I was living the life, man. I still am. Well, I had a lot of fun with my money. I really had a blast.
Well, that's what it's there for. If you don't enjoy it, it just goes to waste.
Yeah. So now I got 25 cars and I can't drive anymore because of my condition.
Oh,
and I'm selling off all my classic cars.
Oh, geez. Well, that's got to be a little heartbreaking.
Well, yeah. The thing is that I was given by the doctor, I was given 1.5 years to 2 years to live. That's what he told me.
Oh, wow. That's drastic.
So I sold a lot of my stuff and I got prepared. My wife. I got everything in order for my wife and kid, and then sat around waiting for it to happen. And 1.5 years went by, 2 years went by.
What year was the doctor's prognosis?
This was 7 years ago.
Well,
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, so I found a doctor who wanted to try stem cell therapy on me. So I did some stem cell therapy to counteract the effects that my circulation was having on my feet, my hands. Everything was affected by this condition. I couldn't walk up a flight of stairs without feeling like I was going to die. I had several. I lived at the doctor's in the hospital for essentially for 2 years.
Oh, geez.
But I got better. I with my doctor adjusted my medication. I did the stem cell thing, and 7 years later, after the fact, I'm still here and I feel pretty damn good.
Awesome. Well, that's great news. We jumped around a little bit, and I'm sorry to hear about your affliction. At the same time, so happy that 7 years have gone by and you're feeling even better. But let's catch the audience up on a couple of your success stories. So back in 1991, there was a short time you were hosting a show called Ruckus. Was that in the U.S. or Australia?
Yeah, I was in the U.S. That was I did a gig in Atlantic City for Merv Griffin. He owned a big casino in Atlantic City, Resorts International.
Right.
And I replaced Rip Taylor, who was in a show there, and I replaced Rip Taylor in a show, and did really, really well. Did great business for him. And when I was finished, Merv called me at home and said, "Do you want to do my new game show? You want to host my new game show?" And he had done Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune.
He's done a bunch of shows, right?
He was the game show guy, So I didn't see myself hosting a game show, but he told me that he would create the show around my show, so that I was comfortable as the host, and let me hire my own writers, and so I did. I hired my own writers, and we wrote 65 episodes of this show. We wrote the pilot episode, and that was picked up by the NBC. And they contracted me to do 65 episodes of this game show for Merv Griffin.
Wow.
So we did them all. We did 65 episodes. And then that's when I was telling you that my agency Spotlight went bankrupt. And they were holding most of the cash from those game shows.
Oh, geez. So,
yeah, they were holding about $300,000.
What an honor to have not only be able to work with Merv Griffin, but to have him to go out of his way and basically create a game show around your.
Oh, he was great.
High energy.
He never missed a taping. He was at every show that we taped, and we became really good friends, really close, and he was great. I mean, I didn't end up making a lot of money because I got ripped off, but by my agency. I think after 6 or 7 years, they settled a bankruptcy case. I got, 2 pennies to the dollar or something ridiculous. But,
yeah.
But anyway, it really put me on the map as far as being seen on TV at 8:00 every night.
Right.
Was really, really strong.
It's like
for your
right. It's prime time and it's on a major network. But I mean, you did have the 24 times on the Fox's Comic Strip Live. You had done several Lettermans.
A couple times. Yeah.
Didn't you?
TV. Yeah, I got banned from Letterman the first time I did Letterman.
You're kidding.
No, I made a bet with a disc jockey that I wouldn't flip him off at some point during my Letterman set. And so I scratched my nose with my middle finger when Dave was talking to me, and the producer caught it and thought I was doing it to him.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he thought I was doing it to him because, he had cut my time back by a couple minutes, and he thought I was mad and that I was flipping him off. And so he banned me. He said, "I saw what you did. You'll never be on." And if you look at the tape, you can tell that I was doing it. It was real obvious. So I didn't do Letterman again. Until like 10 years later. He saw one of my Comedy Central specials. Letterman saw it and personally called my agency to get me back on the show. So when I did it again, I didn't know if he remembered me from 10 years earlier, but when I walked out, you can see me laughing when I looked over at him. And the reason I'm laughing is because he stood up from his desk and flipped me off. and that's why I was laughing.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's a great story. Yeah. Well, you've had some great experiences and got to work with some amazing people. In fact, didn't you also do a Weird Al Yankovic special?
Yeah, I did the Weird Al show. I did a lot of shows, man. I've run across everybody. I've been real lucky because when I played Vegas, and the word of mouth got out about the show in Vegas, everybody, a lot of famous people came to see the show. Like George Carlin was a regular. He came to see the show all the time, and he was my biggest fan. And all these people, Kevin Costner and all these stars would show up and hang out with you, and it was really cool. It was a great life.
Yeah, I mean,
I really had a good time.
To get that kind of status in Vegas, I mean, people don't really understand, but it really flies back in the days of like Sinatra and Dean Martin. If you were in the entertainers group, people would come from all over the world to Vegas just to interact with the stars on stage in Vegas. And
it's a tight-knit community as well. I mean, the acts that play here, like Carrot Top has a regular show, Penn and Teller have a regular show, and we all hang out. We all have dinner together, and after the show we meet here and there, and it's really a tight-knit community, and everybody is making fucking millions of dollars, so we be extravagant as we want. It's great.
Well, I had a nice interview with George Wallace, who spent.
Yeah, he was in our group.
Yeah, he spent over 10 years with his own show there at the Flamingo, and so he was expressing the same thing, that the community and the entertainers of Vegas, to the patrons, the tourists, they're kind of the stars, but the people that live there, it's a job, and you want to make the best of it, and interacting as a group helps that get by day to day. I mean, what a great opportunity to meet people and work with some of the best in the business.
Hey, I mean, it was the easiest gig I've ever had. I would take the elevator down to the showroom from my suite. I had an elevator, private elevator, and I'd take it down to the showroom. I would do an hour and a half, come back up the elevator. I was done for the night. That was it. That was my whole commute.
Yeah, tough life, huh? Johnathan, yeah. You really worked hard there, didn't you?
and then everything's free. I mean, you can sign for any meals. I mean, we had 10 people at dinner. You just sign your name on the check and it's taken care of, and it was great. It was great. I mean, I'm glad I ended up that as my ending to my whole career, and because now it seems like it was great all the way from beginning to end. It seems it was great.
It really, it really was.
I didn't have to go through any like losing gigs and not being,
Well, touch real quick on your success in Australia, because that's of interest. Comedy doesn't have the great presence it has in the U.S., but there's been a few entertainers that really did well in Australia, and I know that you had a lot of success there. Were you doing TV or stage shows?
Yeah, I did TV. I mean, you can become a star in Australia from doing one TV show. I mean, it's that small of a country. I mean, they have like a show that's Hey, It's Saturday, it's called. It's an equivalent to Saturday Night Live, and if you do it, you're guaranteed to have the sold-out season, because it's just people want to. They make people stars real easy. The next day I was walking around, people were recognizing me like I had my own TV show for years, and It was just one shot, So it was a really nice place. They like Americans. They don't hate Americans there. The money's good, and it was just the temperament of the people in the country. It was perfect, and so I would go back every year. And then finally, I met an Australian girl, and I married her. And I lived there for 5 years. So it was great. It was really good.
How did you like, you said the crowds were good and they're receptive. So you enjoyed living there and working there. What brought you, was it the divorce that brought you back to the U.S. or show business?
No, it was show business, but the divorce, I was there as a citizen. When I was married, I had dual citizenship, and my medical expenses were free. Because you live there, you get free medical. They even make house calls. And so I lost that when I got divorced, and just turned me off of Australia for a while. anyone with that accent, I wanted to shoot with a shotgun.
A bit of an overreaction, but I can get the emotional aspect.
They made a couple documentaries about me this year. I don't know if you've seen them or not, but there's one of them one of the documentaries made on me went to Sundance Film Festival, and all of a sudden it was released in movie theaters all around the world. So that got me huge recognition. The fact that they made a documentary on me. It's the same guy that he got 2 Oscars for his documentaries. He did Man on a Wire. I don't know if you've ever seen Man on a Wire. Yeah, and he did Searching for Sugarman, and he did a documentary on me, and that came out, and now it's on Hulu. Hulu bought it for $1 million, and now they're airing it. But I mean, that shows you basically what we've been talking about in a nutshell.
Right. Now you're alluding to, I think it came out originally in 2019. It's called The Life and Death and Return of Amazing Johnathan. It's almost a Christ-like thing. They were documenting how you had your success and then went through the medical aspect of your life and how you've survived
They expected me to die. That's why they wanted to do that documentary because they would have this dramatic ending, and it never happened.
Oh, geez, that's crazy.
So he had to come up with another surprise ending, which even surprised me, to this documentary, and it ended up catching on, and it was at movie theaters. I couldn't believe that. I mean, it was like in LA, it was all over Hong Kong, London. It went, was playing in regular cinemas. So I got to go to the theater and just sit there and watch my life story. I was like, fuck it, this is cool, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, who's this guy, right?
Yeah.
That would just be such a surreal thing to see a movie about yourself.
Another guy made another one too, Steve Byrne. You know Steve Byrne, the comic?
I've heard of him. I don't know him personally.
Yeah, he made one too, and so they were competing documentaries that were out at the same time, like the Fire Festival one, and it was like they were both fighting for airplay, and so it was pretty cool.
I think it's amazing, and that's why you're amazing, Johnathan. You've had such an incredible life. It started from the streets of San Francisco and took you all the way to where documentaries are being produced and shown in movie theaters about you. There is no better way to encapsulate you and your entertainment life than your name, Amazing Johnathan. Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast. This is
my pleasure. It's good to talk to you again. Finally, it's been ages since we've talked.
Yeah, it has, but everybody moves in different directions, and you've had some great offshoots on your road to success. Your time in Australia.
Yeah, no complaints here, man.
Right, your time on TV.
If I were to die in an hour from now, I would be perfectly happy. I've done everything I wanted. I've done it all. Yeah,
well, let's pray that doesn't happen, but it is nice that you have something to look back on and be proud of.
Yeah.
And you did some amazing things. Amazing keeps coming up. I wonder why. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, I have a great short set of Johnathan I'm going to share right after this interview. Hey, thanks, Johnathan, for being a part of the show and doing this interview today. And we will hold good thoughts for your health. Let's go another 7 years and beat the doctor's odds. And ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy some great stand-up comedy by Amazing Johnathan. Hey, thank you, sir.
All right, buddy. I'll see you later.
He's on Comedy Tonight this week sometime, and he recently appeared on David Letterman. Well, not on him, but on a show. I don't know. Maybe he did appear on him. I don't know. I didn't talk to him about it. But this guy is crazy. So let's please welcome the madman of comedy, to Mr. Amazing Johnathan. Come on out.
Lynn Stobner, our hostess for this evening, ladies and gentlemen. And a hand for Scott Edwards, please. Owner of the club, Scott Edwards.
Thanks, son.
Very funny, Scott. Never forget the time when you got your dick caught in the cap of that Bic pen, Scott. That's comedy at its best, folks. The joke was on me because there was a lot of leeway left. He was just kidding me. I thought it was stuck. Well, good evening. We're going to... Son of a bitch. This is brand fucking new. Do you believe this shit? Do you believe that? It's brand new. Look at this crap. Well, I'd like to open up with a juggling trick. No, thank you. What we're going to do is kind of like a punk magic show, I guess you could say, where we actually try to find someone from the audience to come up to help me out with a trick. Now, this can be anyone at all from the crowd, so if you'd like to help, just let me know where you're sitting, and you can come up and help. Anyone, please. Oh, good. I think we found someone. Great. You're not usually the type I would want up here, but you'll do fine. You've never seen the show before, have you?
No, I haven't.
You've never seen me in the past?
No.
Okay, great. Let me show you a few. This is great. Okay, you've seen me in the past. Your name is?
Doug.
Doug, I'm Johnathan. And let's start by doing the dollar bill trick. Let me have a dollar. This is fun. Okay? That's great. Now, Trojans, huh? That's going to come in real handy. And I suppose, ma'am, that means that you don't wear a diaphragm. Am I right? Am I right? You. Can I have the light on her, Scott, please? Would you stand up? You don't wear a diaphragm, do you, ma'am? Okay, great. As long as we got that settled. Hi, Scott. Is it what? Doug, yeah, okay. Doug, let's have that dollar. This is fun. 1, 2, 3. You know, I do that every day, and I still don't get tired of it. All right, now, Doug, now we're going to do one that you like, okay? You see, that's what we do. We do one that I like, then we switch off and do one that you like, and then we go back to one that I like, and that's called the jewelry trick. Okay, now for the one you're going to like, okay? This is called the linking rings. Sir, do you have a handkerchief? Go like this, because you got something hanging. No, it's really bugging the shit out of me, man. I thought it would fall off, but it's just getting longer and longer, and then it stopped, and it's just swinging there. So wipe it off, okay? Because I can't concentrate on this shit with that. All right, here we go. Doug, we did the one I like. Now we're going to do the one you're going to like. Benny and the Jets. The Candyman. Okay, Doug. This is called The Mystery of the Linking Rings, or Rabbi Matic, if Doug steps a little closer to that ring. It slices, it dices. Perfect, Julian fries, Doug. All right, watch this. They go up, they come down, and the rings are linked together, which is not bad for a guy on mescaline, huh, Doug? Try to pull those apart to show the audience that not everybody can do magic, and give me those fucking things. I don't like your fucking attitude one bit now, Doug. Shut up. What is this? Because I'm from San Francisco, you gotta do that? Is this the force field, Doug? Okay. Well, it's not gonna work. Let me have a dollar. This is fun. Give me a dollar. Okay, yeah, we'll use one of my own. That's only fair. All right. You're just lucky I have one. All right, sir, would you look at this for me, please? Make sure it's not a trick dollar. I could have switched it, but it's an ordinary dollar, as you can see. No, go ahead. It's an ordinary dollar. I pulled it away as a joke. Got you again, didn't I? I'm sorry. No, I won't. Go ahead. I need you to examine it. That was cheap. 3. Ah! Oh, come on. Come on, chicken shit. Go for it. Ah! I got a guy 5 times last night. It was a mongoloid in a wheelchair, dog. It was pretty sad. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was amazing, Johnathan, live on stage back in the mid-'80s. And I wanted you to hear that so you could tell the energy and attitude that he brought to the stage. And after listening to his interview, hopefully it helps bring it all together. Now, I understand that listening to magic's not the same as watching magic, but I did want you to get a sense of how he came across to the audience and what made him so popular, not only in Sacramento, but his many years in Vegas. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a great interview and set by amazing Johnathan, a comic magician extraordinaire. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, next week, another great show will be coming your way. Be sure to share, rate, and tell your friends. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Stand-Up Comedy, your host and MC. For information on the show, merchandise, and our sponsors, or to send comments to Scott, visit our website at www.standupyourhostandmc.com. Look for more episodes soon and enjoy the world of stand-up comedy. Visit a comedy showroom near you.